step for you, because Wednesday's paper of last week, I know you can't read this for it, says signed, sealed, and delivered. My friend, Tim Lee. May I add, he came off vacation today to do this. So I really want to thank him for being here. Thank you.
Pleasure, buddy. Well, good afternoon. You're going to have to do way better than that. I didn't come out here to talk to a bunch of people falling asleep, but I did take a picture of the plate there. We're going to take that back to Cobb and show them how to really feed people. So good afternoon. A lot better. We're glad to be here. We're a pleasure to be here. When my good friend David asked me to be here, we didn't hesitate to take the opportunity to come speak with my friends from just down the street a little bit, and we're glad to have the opportunity to come talk to you. I had two speeches prepared to talk to you today. The first was about why you should do business in Cobb County. It really is strong. But David said I might not want to do that, having this much distance between me and the door. But it is good to see a lot of my friends from Cobb County here, and I hope to make and leave with a whole new group of friends here from Paulding County. You need to know that your chairman and I work closely together, not only on the Cobb Marietta Water Authority, but issues surrounding the Atlanta Regional Commission. And we also even work hard together on projects that deal specifically with the residents of Paulding, Cobb, and Bartow. As we recently are working on a project to try to move forward 3rd Army Road interchange on 75 and make sure that we take advantage of that opportunity. That'll be so much of it. It's such a needed asset for this community and for ours. Although the project is not really technically in Cobb, it's not technically in Paulding, it is in Bartow. It benefits Cobb and Paulding the most. So we're working with the chairperson, the commissioner, sole commissioner. I wish we had that. No offense to the district commissioners, but it makes it easier when you talk to yourself. Should we do it? Yeah, we should do that. How about the budget? Screw the budget. Motion, second. All those in favor? Yes. Not bad. So, but I got to tell you, that whole project would be a lot easier if the State House and the State Senate and the leadership worked around Ed Setzler's recommendation to try to allow us to have little pockets of counties come together. Because I can put that project on the SPLOST in Cobb County, and I can have a commitment from the voters in Cobb County to actually spend money in Bartow County, but the state law won't let me do it. It won't let me use SPLOST money raised in Cobb on a project outside of Cobb. I can have IGAs all day long, and I can spend my general fund money, but I can't spend my SPLOST money. And as you know, SPLOST money is where, at least from Cobb, a lot of our road projects are funded. And it's one of those, Ed had a great piece of legislation to try to allow us to work together, and it didn't get through. So Ed, I hope you bring that back next, wherever you are, I hope you bring that back next session. And I'm confident that our representative from Paulding will help you with that. I don't know, he didn't show me that, but I'm sure he will. There you go. He's on board. There you go. You got another one. So what we decided to do is talk a little bit about the Braves. I know that's on everyone's mind. I got to tell you, though, I have to tell you. Well, let me first ask a question. Is there anybody here from the press? Anybody here married to somebody from the press? Okay, I can be truthful. No, I say that to say that if you're in public life, you come to learn more so than you do in business that the press has a target on anybody that's elected. And you know how you're always supposed to start your life. You start a new relationship with always assuming someone's innocent before proven guilty, that someone's actually honorable before they prove them wrong, that someone's telling you the truth until you prove them. Not so with the newspaper, specifically the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. They start at base zero, which is you're lying, you're stealing, you're taking a bribe, you're misrepresenting, and you did that illegally. That is where they start, and then they go down from there. I say that to say If you want the truth about what's happening in Cobb County, you call me. If you want the truth about what's happening in Paulding County, you call my good friend David. Everything else you read is just that, just hype, just misleading lies with a purpose of doing one thing is to sell more newspapers. And it doesn't matter what and who they take with them. As long as they, these are the same people that gave the Braves a hard time for moving out of downtown Atlanta. When the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, when they moved several years ago, moved further away from downtown Atlanta than the Braves are currently moving. So it's a double standard, it doesn't matter. Anyway, enough about them. Just don't believe anything they say. So I got to tell you this story, I got about 3 hours, so it's no big deal. So last July, Representative Earl Earhart called me and wanted me to have lunch with a representative for the Atlanta Braves. Now, the reason I took Earl's phone call to begin with is the project that's now being built in Emerson. He had approached me with Bobby Cox about 3 or 4 years ago about building it in South Cobb. And I had actually gone forward to do the feasibility study and had to step out of office as a district commissioner to run for chairman. And while I was out, the commissioners that were in place decided that that was a little too big of a project to work on when the economy is a little shaky, so they pulled the plug on it. And by the time I came back as chairman, they had Ed Earl Earhart and the Bobby Cox and those people had moved on. Perfect Game Baseball, who's going to be their resident wood bat tournament provider, is the best in the country. That's a phenomenal project. But Earl and I banged our head a lot against each other during that period of time, and we were frustrated where it ended up, but nevertheless things happen for a purpose. So Earl called and said, let's have lunch with a guy from the Braves, and that's fine. I'm always interested in finding out. So he introduced me to a guy last July by the name Mike Plant. Now most of you probably don't know Mike unless you've been around in Cobb for a while, but Mike is the executive vice president, is in charge of everything about the Braves team except what happens on the field and what happens in marketing and PR. Derek handles a lot of that stuff. So Mike is the guy that makes the operation go. So he and I and Earl had dinner or lunch at Marietta Country Club. And after the hello, how are you? He goes, we'd like to talk about bringing the Braves to Cobb County. And I said, great. I said, have you told Rome that? Or Gwinnett? I mean, are you sure? I mean, Gwinnett's a good friend of mine. I'm not sure I'm into that. And Rome, that's a good team. You just built that stadium. Why would you want to move? He goes, no, that's not what we're interested in moving. I said, well, how much land do you really need for a practice field? I mean, is this like a training center or something? Like, the Falcons have a training center. I thought maybe the Braves were doing the same thing. He said, no, we're bringing the entire team, the Atlanta Braves. I said, yeah, right. It's not possible. And he said, no, we're looking for opportunity. He told me the history. We've got 3 years to go. Our contract's up. I said, I can't believe it's been 20 years since the Olympics. He said, yeah, we're trying to figure out what we need to do. In order to be a viable franchise moving forward in any major league sports, you need to create an environment around the stadium. No longer can you just build a stadium and expect folks to come and go and it be viable. You have to create more than that. And we want to have control of the property around the stadium, and Atlanta won't let us do that. He said the current TED was built as an Olympic stadium. It was built with limited dollars. It was built value engineered as it got built. It was built too fast. It was not built for baseball. It was adjusted for baseball. It is not an ideal baseball stadium. It's too big. He said it's also was built, like I said, added value built, so there's a lot of things in it that are now coming up that need total replacement, because when they were building it to a budget, they built it to a budget. So instead of putting in pipes that would last 50 years, people ask, well, look at Fenway, look at Chicago. I mean, these were built when buildings were built. Turner Field was built for the Olympics for 3 weeks, and then it was converted to baseball. And they would have to put over $400 million into that stadium in the next couple of years just to get it up to standards. But the important thing to them, other things were important to them, is we need the mixed use development. We need a sense of place. We need somewhere for folks to come have an experience other than just baseball. We need something where people can come and enjoy themselves whether they go to a baseball game or not. That's important to us. And also, the number one reason more people don't come to more baseball games is parking and egress. Because that sucks where we're at. Not only is it terrible, but the city of Atlanta has cut back on public transportation in and out. We got two major ways to get in. You never know where you're going to park. The roads are congested. There's conflict points between pedestrians and vehicles all over the place. There's no transit. There's nothing to do afterwards. Why would we want to sign up for another 30 years? And I said, good point. I still don't believe you. In fact, I think you're going to use us as a chip against the city of Atlanta. I know how Kasim is. I know how the city is. You're just using me. And I'm not going to do that. And I turned to Earl. I said, if you set me up, so help me God, I'm coming after you. He said, Tim, I know Mike. I know these guys. These are truthful, honest, good guys. I said, I'm Earl's. Now, some of you might find this hard to believe. But based on Earl's reputation, a relationship with me, I trusted him that Mike was legit in what he was talking about. So I agreed to go back and talk with our economic guy and say, go check out the Georgia Power Resource Center and everything we have associated with it. Where do we have property that could fit 88 project of mixed use? I'm thinking South Cobb, way up north, maybe a little bit. He comes back a couple days later with his 80 acres right at 285, just north of 285, between 75 and 41. I said, where is that? And he said, no, it's there. I said, I don't believe you. No, we drove over. He showed it to me. Sure enough, there it was. One little problem, had pipes going right through the middle of it. But there it was, 80 some odd acres available. Never been touched, never been developed. Right in the heart of the Cumberland CID. So I said, well, I guess this is as good as it gets. So I sent it up to Mike and met with him again, sent it up to him, and I said, let me remind you, if you're using me. He said, no. He goes, but I got to tell you, he goes, I'm not using you, but we need to keep this quiet. I said, I'm not asking you to do anything illegal. I said, well, I wouldn't, even if you did, I'm not going to. But he goes, we need to keep it quiet. I said, well, I understand it. I get economic development. We've done this before. There's certain things you got to protect until we get this done. He goes, no, we're serious. We'll take your kids. I said, you can have them. And the grandkids. I got a 32-year-old kid still living at home. Guys, when they leave the first time, change the locks and downsize. You got about 6 months to downsize before they start coming back. Don't miss that opportunity. Real estate people, it's a new story. Say, you just watch out. You should go through. I don't know what real estate people don't do this. They should go through the newspaper, look at everybody who's graduated. Find out if it's the last kid to graduate. If it is, go knock on the door and say, we have an opportunity for you to downsize. You got 6 months before they're coming back in. And it's a new market for the real estate people, and I didn't miss that. But I certainly missed it. But anyway, where was I? So we got together and we put the property in front of them, and Mike called me back about 3 days later and said, let's get together, I want to talk to you. It's fine, we got it. This is like 10 days after our initial meeting. He goes, the senior management has driving around that site for the last 3 days. We've spent 8 hours a day for the last 3 days walking. I said, you didn't walk on it. I mean, people have a tendency to shoot people out here with that kind of stuff. He goes, we just walked on it, we got to know it, we felt it, we looked at it as much as we could. We talked to some developer type people they know. And then we want to get serious about this. I said, well, if you're going to get serious, I'm going to get serious. So we talked about how it could work and all. And I said, well, the first thing that shows a good faith, mind you, I'm a little guarded still. To show good faith, you got to put the property under contract. Well, that was hard because they needed to put it all under contract, and the guy, the BF Saul, who owned the property, didn't believe it. So he rejected it. So there's nobody around that can put that kind of money into a project with that many acres. I'm not doing it. Now, mind you, the Braves wanted to keep it under confidence. They had created a firm, Bulldogs Incorporated, whatever it was, to hire a commercial firm and an attorney firm to do it. Nobody related to their existing organization. They didn't want the two to get commingled by somebody. So they had a whole group over here doing it. So what they ended up doing is having to fly down the representative from BSL and meet with the room. They had to sign a paper saying they wouldn't talk about it. And they eventually got in there, and it was so funny. They tell me it was the funniest moment in BSL and John Sherrills, because John Sherrills was there at this particular time, and Mike Plant. And the guy came in and he, oh crap, because he immediately recognized John Sherrills. The guy is a die-hard New York Mets fan. And he couldn't believe he was selling his property to the Atlanta Braves. But I'll tell you how confidentially we kept it. He signed the paperwork, he accepted the contract, and his own son, who was a representative on the Cumberland CID, didn't even know the deal was done. He didn't even tell his own kids, because we were held down, excuse the French, on making sure that it was kept confidential, not secret, but confidential. A big difference. So as we worked through the process, we decided the Braves are very, very, very sophisticated, very, very pleasurable group of people to work with. They had a folder on everybody that was in the play. They had a folder on every commissioner. They had a folder on everybody on the Cobb Area Development Authority. They had everybody on the Galleria Authority. They had a folder on everybody in the Cumberland CID. They knew where they worked, how they worked, who they worked. They were looking for relationships and looking for some kind of, what is it, factor of 4 or whatever, how the movie goes. But we had it, and we decided at that point that the only way you'd be brought into the circle is if you had something between your ears that you could contribute to the process. I didn't want you to have access to information, because you weren't the guy if you had access to the information. We wanted the person with the information between your heads. So we made sure, for instance, Colonial Pipe is one of the pipelines that runs through the property that needed to be moved. We didn't call Colonial Pipe, we called Colonial Pipe's owners, the president and CEO of that organization. So we talked, we went to the highest point we possibly could within every situation, and we didn't invite you to the circle unless you had something to do, something to add to it. So we worked through the deal, went through like 4 or 5 iterations. Now on my side, I had advised my county manager that I was working it, but I didn't even bring him into it. I had brought my attorney in, and I brought in my finance guy in, and of course my economic development guy from the chairman. And we met with, again, people that did not work for Cobb County to help me put the deal, because the deal was important for a couple of reasons. I knew that a P3, and for folks, P3 has got to be the future of projects like this. There's no way that businesses, projects this big, that are going to leapfrog. No, let me just stop for a moment. The Chamber of Commerce of Paulding County and the government of Paulding County have 2 ways to move forward. You can do it at the pace of growth that occurs across the country or across this region, 2-3% a year, whatever. You can do that. Okay, sit back and hope that someone comes and invests in slowly. Or you do something that leapfrogs everything else that's happening in the region to create an environment that people start talking about and see a positive message, a positive movement towards success. Because everyone is talking about success. There's not a person, a chamber in this country that doesn't talk about success. But the ones that get it done are the ones that take that leap of faith and go to the next level to show their citizens, to show their business community that their community, they're ready to go. And the best way to do that is through the use of a P3, a public-private partnership. The rest will come. And I have a whole presentation on the financial reasons why I did what I did. Because before I actually went forward and told the other commissioners what was going on, the chamber hired an outside firm to do an economic impact analysis. And that outside economic impact had nothing to do with the baseball. It had to do with the dynamics of the investment of the deal. Out of that, we knew what kind of return on investment was good, how long it would take, how much we could invest that still makes sense. We also knew that there were some things being done in other deals that we couldn't do, which is keep it open-ended. For instance, most deals, including the one in Gwinnett, have a wide open clause in there that the county is responsible for. I told the Braves up front that I had to have everything capped. My business community would support this if they knew what the exposure was. So our 300 million we put into the whole project, the 672 is capped. So if they want to put chandeliers in the ladies' restrooms, that's fine, but it's on them. We also told them that our annual contribution to maintenance fund is capped as well. So those are the two bigger things that are capped. In the public-private partnership, yes, I'm helping them, and I'm helping them through the business community. Before we announced the deal, I went to the Cumberland CID and I said, I know you guys assess yourself 5 points more than the normal for improvements. We'd like to do it for another 3. Again, unanimous recommendation, unanimous agreement to do that. Went to the hotel council, said I need to charge $3 a night, every room night, and within the district. And by the way, 80% of the Braves fans come from outside the Cobb County area. I need to do $3 a night, and they signed. One guy took about 2 minutes on a napkin and said, "I'll make that in a month. I'm in." So we did that, and I got the buy-in of the business community, the people that would have to pay for it before I did the MOU. Got that buy-in, and I went forward. And the actual taxpayer, homeowner taxpayer, is now paying 0.33 mils that goes towards our green space fund. So I got people saying, well, I'm going to transfer that in 3 months or 3 years when that debt is paid off. I'm transferring that 0.33 over to help do this. And they'll say, well, how can you do that? What's that 0.33? I said, look, wait a minute, you're paying 0.33 now to buy green space that nobody can use. That's costing us revenue because it's off the tax roads. Here I want to invest that same 0.33. I'm not giving you a tax increase. The same cost to you, 0.33, and I'm getting you almost a 2-to-1 return on that 0.33 within 3 years. Now, why is that bad? Well, obviously, constituents don't think like that. They certainly don't think like that, and it's up to the business community to help make that go and make it work. So, you have to, as leadership, you have to sometimes you do your best to be smart, you do your best to make sure that you cross your T's and dot your I's, and you make sure that you've talked about as many people. Then you have to take that leap of faith. You have to take that leap of faith. I had good partners. The Braves are wonderful people. They're absolutely, and I did not know this, but they actually have a baseball team. And I say that to say that when I did this deal, when we were doing this deal, it was economic development relocation of a corporate company that happened to make baseball. And as long as I stood at that, I knew that I could make it work. Because if I was expecting the citizens of Cobb County to support me moving the team here just because they like baseball, that wasn't going to happen. I had to make it make sense in the business. Now, I'll tell you how ironic that is. Well, before I get to that point, one of the things, since the folks here are from Isaac's office, I even called Johnny and had breakfast with Johnny and said, I need to know if I do this, if I'm going to harm the region and or the state at a point that'll make us go backwards regionally versus forward. I don't want to do this to the benefit of Cobb, only to have the region slide backwards. And Johnny's, he's got his pulse and everything. We talked for about an hour and a half, and he finally at the end and said, no, you need to do this, Tim. You need to do this. I did not know that the day before or the day after, right? Mike Plant had called Johnny and said, can I trust this Tim Lee guy? And so that's funny, he just asked me if he could trust you. So we kind of, the fact that our paths have gone along on that same way. What was key was, of course, having a revenue stream to pay back the bonds that's diversified, so I don't have just one sector. I got hotel motel, I got hotel fees, I got CIDs, I've got a transfer, I got a car tax. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different revenue streams that go into paying the note. Actually 6, because I have a guaranteed $6.1 million from the Braves for the next 30 years. They are the only corporation in Cobb County that's given me a 30-year deal in writing. Home Depot, Weather Channel, Napa, GE, Lockheed, none of those companies have given me a deal where they're committed to Cobb County for 30 years. The Braves have. And it's probably, if you have a hard time falling asleep tonight, go on the web, and all the long forms are in there, about 6 inches of paper. as to what the art of the deal is. It'll put you to sleep, but it's a pretty good one. If the Braves decide to move, they got to buy our stadium, pay off the bonds, and give it to us. If they go on strike, doesn't matter, they still pay us. If they have a losing season, doesn't matter, they still pay us. And it's all guaranteed through Liberty Media, their holding company. So it works pretty good. We had, the MOU was done in November. It was the fastest that's ever been done. But frankly, we had to go through about 4 or 5 iterations, financial deals, before we had it. Now this is a key thing for you economic development people and you Chamber of Commerce people, and David, he knows this. The Braves want to accomplish something big. I wanted to accomplish something big. We had to look each other in the eye and say the only way we could do this is if we trust each other. If you're looking to make a good deal on my behalf, or I'm looking to make a good deal, it's only going to benefit me, that's not going to happen. We can't get this done in the amount of time that we're going to get it done. We have to do it together, and we have to do it eyes wide open, and we have to trust each other. And so Mike and I committed to each other, and what we did was basically every time we came in the room, all of us put our cards on a table. Everything I had in my deal, I put on, everything he put on. And I had people call me from Atlanta, watch out for those guys, they're crooks. Can we get on your payroll to defend you? Look out for those guys. We can help you, just hire us. You know? So I hired a firm, but it was in Ohio. I didn't want anybody that was involved in Atlanta. Not to say the Atlanta firms aren't good, don't get me wrong. But there was too much stuff in the Atlanta marketplace for me to depend on any one firm to help me figure out what was the best route to take. So we hired a firm that's done this in the past. Probably about 10 of the last 20 stadiums have built in the last decades. They came and they helped us put the deal together. Really, really reputable firm. I got the lead from John Portman's team. So you know there was somebody that knows what to do. And John Portman, for you people under 30, he made Atlanta what it is. So getting one of his team members to help me figure out how to get it done was critical, I thought, to making it successful. So we worked through it. Again, that we had a problem. We had a plan A and plan B. What happened? Because at one point someone said, "Who's going to tell the governor?" It's your deal. And it was like, "Well, who's going to tell the mayor?" Definitely your deal. So that all happened, and we had a plan to talk about how that was going to go. And the governor was basically, he was the smartest, he does what he does well. This is a local issue, I'm staying out of it. I only wish they would do that when he passes legislation, but that's a whole other story. Sorry, Ed. The other part was, obviously Kasim Reed is a very respectable guy, and I get along with him very well, and he's a good friend, and he's been very helpful to me in Cobb County in getting projects done that need to get done at the right time. So I don't want to take anything away from the fact other than the city of Atlanta just wasn't ready. They had been working hard with the football team to try to make that happen, and frankly, they took the eye out of the ball, but I'm not quite sure they could have done both projects anyway. It's just unfortunate for them. They both came to a head at the same time. And we took advantage of the opportunity. Again, I didn't go ask him. Frankly, I had no idea. But they came to us, and we took advantage of what's going on. So what we're going to get is a world-class baseball stadium with a $400 million worth of investment of a mixed-use project that would be everything from a green space to a water feature to an entertainment center to hotels to condos to townhouses to retail to actually an entertainment component to it as well. Now, the first thing that always comes up is, what about traffic? Well, the Braves, one of the things that concern Braves with traffic is parking and ingress. Their number one reason more people don't go to games is because they can't park and they can't get there, or they can't get home in a reasonable amount of time. Nobody wants to go to a 7 o'clock game and not get home till 3, especially when the game ended at 10. So there's that dynamic. So that's the number one reason. Now, I'm going to talk to you, the business people in this room. If you knew the number one reason more people didn't buy your product or service was X, would you pick up your entire organization and spend hundreds of millions of dollars to move it somewhere else where that factor is worse? Or would you even move it if it didn't change? If you're a smart business person, you're going to move. If you're going to move because the number one reason more people don't buy your product or service is because they can't get to you, you're going to move where they can get to you. Makes sense, right? However, the American public doesn't look forward through the windshield most times. It's usually through an iPad. But they don't look forward through the windshield. They look forward through the rearview mirror. The decisions and their opinions about what's happening in the future is always based on what's happened to them in the past. And that's understandable, that's reasonable, that's human nature. So when you look at what's going to happen in the future, you always rely on what you've been through or know or heard about from the people that don't invent a Journal-Constitution as to what this future is going to look like. Already we have 14 points of access from all 360 degrees. A majority of the people that go to Braves baseball live in a northern arc that are in conference in Cobb in the northern part of the community. There's a big bunch down in Peachtree City, which I don't understand, but I think that's more of the players. Add to that our cooperation between the state and the feds and us, we've got $1 billion of road improvements underway in that vicinity that are already programmed and funded, which will be completed 2017 and 2018 at the latest. The one that's going to be completed 2018 is the dual reversible lanes that the state's building that will come north in the PM times, go south in the AM times. It's going to be huge to relieve congestion on 75, Windy Hill, 285, as people that come from either direction on 285 or from the south 75 will be able to get onto this managed lanes and not touch the 75 until they get to Cherokee County or to Bartow County. It's going to be huge in terms of moving traffic through that period. One of the projects, a huge project we're working on is the Windy Hill 75 interchange. We're also working on Windy Hill from Powers Ferry all the way over to Windy Hill. That's going to be significantly improved. We're doing a DDI there, which will increase the flow tremendously. So we already have $1 billion worth of project improvements. We know that we're also doing we're going to be putting into place a circulator. Now, the Cumberland CID is the number 4th most dense location in the state of Georgia during the day for businesses. We've got 5 or 6 different huge office towers and a lot of retail and a lot of investment in there. So we're going to put in a 24/7, 365 circulator that will be moving people. So if you work at Home Depot and you want to go to the game, you can pick out on the circulator, go 10 minutes and be at the game, and then go back at the end of the game without having gotten into your car. There's a lot of things happening there. We intend on putting a pedestrian bridge over 285 to connect the inside or a lot of the office towers with this complex. So if you work at, let's say you're a conventioneer, let's say you work at one of the towers in the Galleria area, you get down, get off your elevator, walk about 150 yards, walk another 100 yards over the bridge, and you're there. Don't have to get in your car. Plus, add this to your mantra. Cumberland CID is also one of the areas we have. If you ever go to the Cobb DOT, you're going to see our video wall, which where we monitor what's going on at key intersections. Cumberland CID currently has our SCAT timing system where we can instantly adjust traffic signalings based on real-time conditions based on what we're watching from the video cameras. So if we see a particular, and we'll have Braves and police and folks in the center, if we see a particular left lane getting queued up, we can hold it green to clear it for that moment only. And then if it doesn't get queued up the next green cycle, then we can hold it shorter green and have traffic go that way. We'll be doing that in real time. We're also going to be able to take out our technology. You will not be able to you'll actually do it now. You have to pay extra now for a paper ticket. By the 2017, there will be no paper tickets. So everything will be in your phone. And if you're in your phone and you want to know, you're going to start that day. Let's say, for instance, you bought a ticket, it's in your phone or whatever your tablet of choice is. You're going to get an email saying, look, hey, see you're coming to the Braves game tonight. Glad to see you come along. I see that you're in Paulding. The best way for you to get there is in the parking deck G. Now let's say he's come down and you're down there for a meeting with me at the Georgian Club. At 4 o'clock he'll get an update. I see you moved. you could do one or two things. You could either leave your car parked where it is and walk over the bridge, here's the pedestrian way it is, or you can take your car, and we like you to park now on deck 4. Go up to level 3, there's a bunch of parking available. Then when he gets out, when Dave gets out, he pushes a button and it tells him what's the best way to get home. The parking's gonna get skewed, so if you're coming from the northeast section of Cobb, or northeast section of the region, or from the south end of the region, it will never interchange with the 285-75 Windy Hill interchange. You'll be directed through other routes and areas where we're making improvements, so that half of the people come to the game will never get to the Windy Hill 75, 285 interchanges. So we got technology on our side, we got time on our side. We're not playing next week. We're playing in 3 years. We're spending a year to do a comprehensive traffic parking, and the technology that's going to be available by 2017 is going to enable us to move people in and out, but not nearly the problems we have now. Now, what's made this happen for the Paulding County Chamber of Commerce? What has made this happen? Public-private partnerships with the Cumberland CID, who have spent 2 decades investing in this Cumberland area, getting it ready for the next big idea of which nobody knew what it was. If we had not invested in infrastructure, if we had not invested in pipes and water and all the things that make it possible, it wouldn't have happened. And the Cumberland CID, who doesn't own a thing, but in cooperation with the state, with the county, and their own resources, for the last 2 decades, they have been investing in the area to make it ready to receive a project like this. Why do I say that? The P3 is going forward. This project's going forward as a P3. If you really want to be ready for the future, you've got to be investing in it today without knowing what it's going to be. The actual zoning for the Braves Stadium is going to be a down zoning from what is currently zoned for in our future land use map. The investments that were made in there for the last 2 decades have been based on the future land use map, knowing that that's what we wanted to happen. People before me and people after me knew that that area needed to be more than just mom and pop. It needed to be bigger than that in order for the economic expansion and sustainability of Cobb County to be a part of the region and stand on its own. We needed to make those investments without knowing what we were investing in specifically. And it takes courage, it takes vision, and it takes leadership to be able to say, this is the right path to take, this is the right mechanism to use, this is the right direction to go. Even though I can't define exactly what it looked like, I know it's the right direction versus doing nothing. If you want to sit back and grow at the rate of inflation, I can come back here in 20 years and you'll be right where you are because you would have slid back. If Paulding County wants to continue to grow the way it has, it must invest in its future today, even though you may not be able to define it 100%. So I applaud the chamber, I applaud the leadership of your government for taking that risk, not only professionally but personally, taking that risk to move you guys to the next level of success for your community, both your residents and your business community. You as a business community have got to work together in a P3 manner that makes it happen and be the backbone of the county, because Joe residents doesn't get it. And we're doing it on behalf of it. We're doing it on behalf of them. They don't always get it. There are some smart ones out there, but most of them don't. And they're going to be throwing arrows and hand grenades and everything else, and you guys have got to be the backbone of the government as you move it through as a P3. It's the only way it's going to work. My hopes are, as Paulding goes, and I know this, as Paulding goes, so does Cobb. As Cobb goes, so does Paulding. Because we are tightly knitted together in a cooperation mode. 50%, 60% of my workforce, let me put it another way, I have more jobs in Cobb County than I have workforce. And half of my workforce leaves every day. Of that, half of them go to Atlanta. So I'm importing people. Where am I? I'm not importing them from Clayton County. I'm importing them from Paulding. I'm importing them from Bartow and Cherokee. So I have a vested interest in investing to make sure that Paulding succeeds to have high quality workforce, because if you're not going to use them, I need them. So it's in my best interest that Paulding continues to grow a great community with high-quality services, a good direction on economic expansion, an emphasis on high-quality education so that you develop the workforce that I can borrow until you get yourself going. Because eventually I know with the Davis leadership, the folks that come, you will get to the point where this will be a mecca for business to be as well. And you'll be taking folks from Cobb and Paulding, or from Bartow and from Cherokee as well, and the surrounding counties as well, as you guys grow out here and leave other people behind. So I leave you with this, folks. Simply, we were in the right place at the right time for the Atlanta Braves, and we didn't say, this is too big for us. We didn't say, no, this doesn't make sense. We didn't say no because it was a knee jerk. We said, let's talk. And then we took risks once we did our due diligence. And I think it's going to push us to the next level. And I think that's what's made it happen. We took advantage of the opportunity and moved it forward. Emerson did that. Emerson took advantage of the opportunity and moved it forward. What is your next big opportunity that you are going to be moving forward? And you must be the backbone of this community and not run and hide when the paper throws rocks. And Bubba Joe Bob and his sister come stand up at the county commission meeting and complain about how you're being secret, or you're hiding stuff, or you got a house in Tahiti, or whatever it is, right, John Loud? So it's one of those things we need to make sure that you guys work together. P3 is not just a business deal. P3 is a cooperation level that helps make things go, and it starts and it finishes right here in this room. I want to thank you so much for having me here. If I got the whole afternoon if you got questions, so I don't know what's the protocol. Do we? Oh, Don, yeah, now I know why I can't find you. Yeah, so all this time I thought he was real busy in Cobb, but I didn't know he was over here.
Yeah. Time for a couple of questions. Anyone?
If you don't have one of those smartphones, and let's say you're older or poor or whatever you are, how would you get a ticket?
Fox Sports. Said Frank too. No. I have no idea, David. I have no idea. I mean, that's another. That's. I don't want to say it's above my pay grade, but it's over in a different room. Not him, for certainly.
We will make sure you're educated.
Yeah, there you go. The Braves have a philosophy. They want to make this family accessible. I mean, that's part of what makes success. They're not trying to build a stadium that's going to be for the elite or for people that only can afford it. Their intent is always to keep X number of tickets ready for the full scope, so you can still take your 3 kids to the game and not have to mortgage your house. So with that I left it at them. And that's one of the good points with David is that when we decided to put this deal together, I personally have never built a baseball field before. I have gone out and mowed grass when I was a kid in 12. We'd mow a field and we'd play baseball out in the backyard, but I've never built a stadium. So we were clear in this agreement that they built the stadium. Last thing I wanted Mike Plant to do was coming in and saying, we would have been on time on budget, but you wanted, marble tops in the bathroom or something to that. So we're getting totally out of that. We have someone who's going to watch it, but the design, development, and delivery of that stadium is 100% Braves. Cost overruns is 100% them. So when we decided we wanted to get what we had to get done in 3 years, we decided there's a path that needs it. The path to take it is not having the government involved in something it shouldn't be involved in. This is an entity that's built stadiums across the country. They've hired some of the best people in the world that's built stadiums, and they're doing the project. As long as they do everything we're doing according to code, then we don't have a problem. By the way, the private part, because we are subsidizing the P3 with the baseball, the private part, the $400 million, will have absolutely no incentives. They're paying full freight on the costs associated with that, and that was part of the deal. It cost them about $100 million, but that was, if you want help here, you'd have to do that on your own.
All right. How about one more? Ed?
Yeah, can you ask Mike Plant if the Braves will join the Paulding chamber?
No. I'm sure Don can. But, no, thank you very much. You guys have been wonderful. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Chairman Lee. We appreciate your presentation. Very, very informative and greatly appreciated. I've mentioned this a couple of meetings ago that we've started a new tradition where we provide a donation from the chamber to a local nonprofit on behalf of our speaker. And it's my pleasure today to announce that we're providing a contribution to the Family Alliance of Paulding County. And so we're, Linda Sharon, if you'll come back up, I'd like to give you a gift. And we have a small little gift for our speaker today, Chairman Lee. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great job.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. In baseball terminology, we're